Welcome, car enthusiasts and history buffs. Today, we're delving into the fascinating world of the Lotus 7, a legendary car with a 60-year history of lightness, precision, and unforgettable driving experiences. At a time when automotive development and motorsport were closely linked, Colin Chapman took a bold step. He built his first car based on an old Austin 7 chassis, laying the foundations for what would soon become known as the Lotus 7. This decision marked the beginning of an era in which lightweight construction and precision became the hallmarks of this unique vehicle. As is often the case in life, it is not size or power that counts, but precision and feel for the road. The Lotus 7 embodies this philosophy in a unique way, and over the years has won a firm place in the hearts of car enthusiasts. The true beauty lies in simplicity and precision. Colin Chapman, join us as we delve into the history of this extraordinary vehicle, from its humble beginnings to its legacy that continues to this day. Join us on a journey through 6 decades of automotive history and discover the allure of the Lotus 7. Bass, a 60-year history of lightness, precision, and terrific little driving machines. In 1948, Colin Chapman built a stressed plywood body and put it on a rotten old Austin 7 chassis to produce his very first car. With this innovative and competitive machine, he competed in sporting trails. Classic trials are one of the oldest forms of motorsport, dating from the beginning of the 20th century. On these, the car or motorcycle is stopped at the foot of a hill and has to make a non-stop ascent. Both Chapman soon developed a reputation as a talented car designer and went on to build a much improved trials car. He was so pleased with this machine's handling that he thought he'd have a crack at circuit racing with it too. But on 3rd June 1950, in an 8-car race at Silverstone, Chapman brought home his trials car ahead of a Type 37 Bugatti to win his very first circuit race. After building multiple trials and road racing cars, Colin Chapman introduced his first production car, the Lotus Mark VI. In 1952, the heart of the Mark VI was a space frame chassis. But rather than a complete car, it was available to the general public as kit, wherein the customer could install any preferred engine and gearbox, making it eligible for a wider number of formulas. Production and development of newer models continued, with the cars becoming more sophisticated, faster, and more successful. The 11 was in production and running at Le Mans when Chapman, his wife, and another couple were having a regular Sunday evening meal together. One of the women said they should look at producing a simple car again for the market the 6 had met, but Lotus had moved away from. The word is they sketched it up that night and had the prototype built within a week. Heavily based on the 11, this car was to become the 7, though initially the 7 number was missed. The Lotus 7 was launched in 1957. The 7 name was left over from a model that was featured on a model that was abandoned by Lotus, which would have been a Riley engine single-seater that Lotus intended to 102 and 1952 or 1953. But however, the car was completed as a sports car and christened the Clemente Special. The 7 was powered by a 40 bhp 30 kW 41 PS Ford side valve 1,172C inline 4 engine. It was mainly for lower budget club racing on short tracks, 750 Motor Club. In order to continue building successful racing cars, Lotus needed to continue to make money. The 7 was never designed as a competition car. And in fact, the exercise of going from the S1 to the S2 was about keeping build costs as low as possible. And the 7 had a frame with plenty of limitations. The sales dwindled, and there are plenty of stories about 7 enthusiasts within the company who worked to keep the car in production, while Chapman wanted to drop it as it was not making money and did not suit the image he was cultivating for the company. The Lotus 7 S2 followed in 1960 and was supplemented by the Lotus Super 7 S2 from 1961. The Super 7 initially used the larger Cosworth modified 1340cc Ford Classic engine, and later examples were fitted with 1498cc or 1590cc engines. 9cc engines. And the 7 S3 was released in 1968. In 1970, Lotus radically changed the shape of the car to create the slightly more conventional size Series 4 with a square fiberglass shell replacing most of the aluminum work. It also offered some luxuries as standard, such as an internal heater matrix. The British tax system of the time, purchase tax, meant the car could be supplied as a kit, known as completely knocked down, a CKD, without attracting the tax surcharge that would apply if sold in assembled form. Its tax rules specified assembly instructions could not be included, but as the rules said nothing about the inclusion of disassembly instructions, they were included instead, and all the enthusiasts had to do was to follow them in reverse. The original model was highly successful, with more than 2,500 cars sold due to its attraction as a road legal car that could be used for clubman racing. Having joined the EEC on 1st January 1973, the UK had to abolish purchase tax and adopt VAT instead. VAT does not allow for concessions such as CKD, so the tax advantage of the kit-built Lotus 7 came to an end. Between 1957 and 1972, the Colin Chapman designed and produced Lotus 7 became the embodiment of the Lotus philosophy of performance through low weight and simplicity. Day 7 after Lotus. In 1973, Lotus decided to shed fully its kit car image and concentrate on limited series motor racing cars. As part of this plan, Lotus ended production of the 7 and sold the rights to its only remaining agents, Caterham Cars in England and Steel Brothers Limited in New Zealand. Today, Caterham make both kits and fully assembled cars based on the original design. When Caterham ran out of the Lotus Series 4 kits in the early 70s, in accordance with their agreement with Lotus, they introduced their own brand version of the Series 3. They have been manufacturing and refining this car ever since as the Caterham 7. Steel Brothers Limited in Christchurch, New Zealand assembled Lotus 7 Series 4s until March 1979, when the last of the 95 kits provided by Lotus was used up. The last Lotus Badge 7 Series 4 was therefore produced in New Zealand. There was also an attempt to make a wider, modernized version of the Series 4 using the twin-cam Lotus 907 engine called the Lotus Super 907. In the spring of 1978, it was announced that this was to be sold in the United States as the 907 engine had been federalized, but the American importer had no funds, and the project came to naught. The single-finished Super 907 still resides in New Spain. In New Zealand, Lotus Super 7s built in New Zealand cost 3008 and 3015 were imported into California in 2012 by Trevor Candler. Between 1970 and 1975, following a representation agreement, Lotus Argentina SA obtained a license to manufacture the Lotus 7 in Argentina. This production reached approximately 51 units. These vehicles were not replicas, but built under license and original brand Lotus, this being the second legitimate Lotus 7 built out of England, and therefore can also legitimately bear the emblem of Lotus. The Lotus 7 design has spawned a host of imitations on the kit car market, generally called 7s or 7S Roadsters. Many of those cars are still produced to this day. Along with manufacturer-supplied kits, there are entirely self-built 7S cars referred to as low-cost. Driving the 1969 Lotus 7 is, without question, the single best moment of my life. It's the same distilled cask-strength delight I felt when my brother and I pushed a home-built cart down a too-steep hill, the same blend of thrill and mild terror. My left foot darts down from its perch atop two exposed screws to push in the clutch. The 4-speed gearbox moves to third with a fractional wrist movement, and then on the throttle and the engine growling once more. And its Biggles learns to drive, and I'm buzzing the aerodrome and shouting, "Yeah, boost sucks to you" with the Zeppelin pilots. I must buy goggles and a helmet and one of those long white scarves. And one of these, I've got to get me a seventh heaven, Brendan McAleary drive. Lotus MKI. The first car Chapman built was an Austin 7 base special, not designed for racing, just designed to be driven. And an outing competing in off-road charge competition with the car. And then girlfriend and future wife Hazel Williams helped to convince Chapman to continue building cars, only with the next to be faster. Until Lotus MK2. His second machine was built to compete in trials competition, and tellingly was also able to run on the road. Think of it in spirit as your grandfather's Ariel Nomad. Chapman entered it into events held by the Yes, You Can Still Become a Member of its 750 Motor Club. Once he realized it was quick in circuit racing, his next car was built for the tarmac. Lotus MK3. Technically speaking, this is Lotus 1, or at least it was the first car to be called Lotus, though its lineage is clear. It's as advanced as you'd expect from a Chapman design, even one from 1951, aluminum bodywork, 0 to 50 mph in less than 7 seconds, and a top speed of around 90 mph. Did I mention that this is a 750cc engine? Wow. Lotus MK4. Lotus Engineering Company, founded with the help from a PS50 note from Hazel Williams, finished up the MKIV, a car that would be the final trials car. Naturally, it won on its debut, and request to purchase a Lotus pushed the company ahead with its most revolutionary design yet, the 1952 MK6. Lotus MK6. Lotus MKV development was abandoned for the VI, the first car from the company to sell in great numbers, more than 100 kits, and the first to resemble the 7 we all know and love. Even today, forgive its lack of safety, its performance is brisk 93 mph top speed, 0 to 60 mph in about 15 seconds from your choice of engine. Weight was a comically low at 952 lbs, which is a near 40% saving from the minimum weight for a 2016 Formula One car. So once assembled, it was a car that gave many amateurs around the UK and beyond their first taste of victory, the first only a few times with DIY designs have trounced factory efforts.